Well, hey, everybody, welcome back to Client Side Chats. As always, we have great guests that we just love to talk to on our little program here. And today is no different. So I am very proud and believe me, and honored to actually have Diana Stegall on. Diana, if you didn't know, is actually past president for ASSP, American Society of Safety Professionals, and has done a lot of successful work in the consulting world. I know you and I were talking off screen about our experiences in insurance a little bit here. So, so Diana, welcome.
Well, thank you, Jamie. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here, and really looking forward to this conversation.
Definitely. And as you're aware, we're actually going to talk about success stories in safety. Now, of course, I'm sure, knowing your track record, you've had a lot of successes in safety. We're really looking for one that maybe comes to mind that you might think would be interesting to share with people. And certainly, if you're up for it, we'll have you back on here too. But if you don't mind, talk about one of your successes in safety. You know, what was it? What is it? Maybe it's something that's going on now.
Sure, absolutely. So, being in the insurance world, it's interesting because you are there and you're helping clients, certainly to help them control their risks so that they don't have losses. But I found that when I do that well, that we're actually able to make a difference and establish those relationships. So throughout my years in insurance, I've worked with healthcare and social services and schools and manufacturing, and some things it's just like, wow, I never thought that someone had to make that, but I guess they do. Poultry processing and pork processing. Would love to take people, take some senior leaders there and not warn them ahead of time about the smell, especially when we go to the rendering area and you get to a point, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, when we get to this next section, breathe through your mouth. Just
Yep.
breathe through your mouth. You're not going to want to breathe through your nose, trust me. But when we think about success stories, there are a couple that come to mind. One was a social service organization back in the Twin Cities, a very large, very successful organization. And their mod, my God, I did not know a mod could be, for those of you not in insurance, experience modification factor, which is used to help determine what premium you're ultimately going to pay for your workers' compensation. But their experience modification factor was over 3. And again, just to kind of, for those who aren't in the insurance world, 1 is considered unity. So you have your premium, it's multiplied times your experience modification factor, and boom, roughly you get what your premium is going to be. So below 1 is good, above 1 is bad. I had never seen one that was over 3. So
Wow.
yeah, kind of had my work cut out.
Definitely.
But part was they weren't doing anything from a return to work standpoint. If someone got injured, they would just leave them out. And it was an interesting situation because the person I was talking to was amazing and really wanted to do the right thing, but wasn't really sure how. And they had gone through and they had put some training together, which was not very good, quite frankly. But they were trying to do the right thing. But one of the techniques I use with clients is I look at their mission statement, because you can learn a lot about the organization by looking at their mission statement. And in this particular situation, their mission was actually to help individuals with disabilities find work. I'm like, okay, your mission is to help people with disabilities find work, yet you're not doing that for your employees who are at work. And a light bulb went off, because it's like, this is easy. I mean, that was really low hanging fruit. So worked with them to put together an early return to work program and to get people back to work, helped with the rollout and with the implementation. And that was, that went over well, helped them with developing balanced scorecards for the different stores they had. So they had retail stores as well as some other things going on. And it was to a point, so we got so we started making some of these changes. And then one of the things they wanted me to do as the insurance company was to go out and do a walkthrough of their stores. So I did this for a while, but when I went back the next year and did a walkthrough of the same store, nothing had changed. Nothing. The things that had been an issue the year before were still an issue. And so we were having, it was great because I was meeting with the senior leadership team and we're having these conversations and we're talking about what I've seen in the stores. I'm like, there's no accountability. And I had talked to my counterpart at the broker who had been working with this account for a long time. And I said, they need an accountability program. And he's like, yeah, that's not going to fly. But we're sitting in the meeting and we're talking about seeing the same things over and over again. And one of their senior leaders says, maybe we should start holding people accountable. Yes.
It's like great.
It was great. So that became part of the balance scorecard as well. And so we started to see changes. So then the next time when I went out, I did start to see the changes, and it was great because over the year we went from the 3.3, and we actually were able to get it below 1.
Whoa.
So think about, just say for grins and giggles, their insurance premium, their what's called the manual premium was $100,000. So they would have been paying $300,000, and now they're paying less than $100,000. So when people say, well, safety cost, and how do I justify that? It's like, this is real money.
Yeah.
If you can have an impact on the experience modification factor like that, and no, it's not going to happen overnight, but you start to whittle away at that. It's like most organizations know what they can do with an extra $200,000.
Right.
And in this particular case, their insurance was a whole lot more than that. So that was great savings because, again, this is a social service organization. They're trying to do the right things to help other people out. And boom, they had an extra $200,000 they were able to apply to their bottom line because of doing the right thing.
Yeah, doing the safety stuff. And Diana, I love this because I love how you integrated that in with what their mission is, pointing out to them that here you are doing this for the people who are your customers, but you're not doing it for your internal customers. And then being able to then rotate that into a forward thinking, leading kind of metric with the scorecard and bring it all back into center. And look at the impact, the phenomenal impact it had on the expenses. I mean, you like you say, sometimes people say, well, the cost of safety, wow, that's whatever. Wait a minute. How can you justify the cost of claims that you're having? I mean, that's where the money really does hurt rather than doing an investment internally.
And people who haven't been on the insurance world, and I'll hear safety professionals who struggle with how do I justify the cost? It's like, do you know what the experience modification factor is for your organization? Do you know how much you're paying in workers' compensation? Do you know what your claims amounts are? And if you don't, that's an easy place to start. So even if you can reduce the number of claims by 10%, and looking at what types of claims are you having, and if I moved to Arizona in the last 2 years from Minnesota. And as you might imagine, in Minnesota, slip, trips, and falls, particularly nice, a huge thing. And if you could reduce slips and falls on ice by 10%, you're making a difference and you're having successes. It doesn't have to be just, oh, well, we live in Minnesota, so we're going to have slips and falls on ice. Well, you are, but what can you do to reduce the hazard, reduce the frequency, reduce the severity of slips and falls?
Right. Well, great. Well, Diana, thank you for sharing with us today. Greatly appreciate it. I know you have more success stories, so if you're comfortable, would love to ask you back in the future and share some more of those things. But thanks for being on. Really appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, James. Always glad to be here and to see your smiling face.
Same here. I like that the other way back too. So, all right. Take care.